Hello everybody. Recently a friend of mine was talking about a field glaze that he was making, just digging dirt from a field and making glaze from it. And it reminded me of, I did the same thing, and I've been using it for a few months anyway. And I thought I would share my experience and how I made my own field glaze. So here I'll kind of show you the process I followed and everything, right? So I call it a slip because mine has a lot of clay in it. And so here's kind of what I started with. This is dirt. This is already dried. It's just dirt, a lot of clay in it. It's kind of a light brown color, and I got a big bag of this stuff. And the first thing I tried to do was make a throwing clay out of it. And in making a throwing clay, it was challenging, right? Because you didn't know when it was going to melt or what. And so I was able to make a clay that you could throw. And here's the, I don't know if you can see that. Here, I'll set it there. Just a little vase. And so I threw this with this dirt that I had made made into a kind of a workable clay. And I did fire it. Cone 06. This is fired to cone 06, and it is fine, except that it is not vitrified and water seeps through it. And so then I put it into my high fire, and here I'm going to put this back on the tripod here. I put it into the high fire, and it melted, of course, but I watched it, and then I could see kind of a corner of it, and it started to melt into a puddle, really low. I can't remember, like I don't know, before cone 1, somewhere in that neighborhood. So rather than make a throwing clay with it, I thought that I would make a slip. And so I showed you that there. So what I did is I took this clay, dried it all out, put it into a 5-gallon bucket like this, filled it with water, and then let that clay, let that water dry. Actually, maybe I'll take it off the tripod again so you can kind of see what we're doing here. So this is one that I let that clay dry, and then this is sieved once actually, so it's still it's pretty creamy, but there's still some coarse black sand in it that I can feel in my hands, but you can see it's just lumpy mud, but there's a lot of clay in it. It's creamy. And this is sieved once through a 40 mesh sieve, and then there's still some fine sand in it, but I got all the rocks and twigs and things like that out of it. And then I sieve it a second time with it was an 80 mesh, and it took a long time, but it did go in. So let me put this here and grab a little mixer. Let's see if I'm in the frame there. Yeah, pretty good. And so I have my little mixer here. And then, well, I guess I could take it off of the tripod, and you can, I don't know how exciting it is, but you can see me mix this here. So anyway, so this is the ready to go slip. Now I have put nothing in this. This is literally dirt from the ground, dried, and then sieved through a 40 mesh and then an 80 mesh, and it's real thick and nice. Oh, sorry, it's real thick and nice, like a thick chocolate milk. Not real gritty. That's about it. And then I've used it in a couple different ways. I've glazed a couple things with it just as a exterior glaze, and then a couple of things I glazed with white and then a celadon glaze over the top of it in stoneware. And before I move on, so this is the type of mesh I use. It fits right over the top of a 5-gallon bucket. If you sieve or you make your own glazes, I recommend that you pick up some of these. They last a while. I think and the price might still be on there. Oh, it's all rubbed off now, but this is a 40 mesh. I think I have a 40 and a 40, a 60, and an 80, I think. And it makes for mixing glazes real easy. So that's my suggestion. Anyway. So what does this glaze look like at high fire? So this is the treatment that I have preferred and what I have been doing. So let me see in the frame if you can see that okay. Yeah, I see it pretty good. Let me get the light behind it. So as you can see, it's just a bowl. It's a bowl, medium-sized bowl, and how I like to use this glaze is after I trim this bowl, I will take a brush and I'll brush the slip onto the outside when it's still leather hard, and then give it a couple hours to dry, and then take a little tool and make scratch marks so that I have some kind of variation in the decoration. And then I bisque fire it to cone 06, and then I dip it in. This is a celadon glaze, and then I will fire to cone 10 in reduction, and this is what it looks like. And here's a little smaller example, a teacup where I did the very same thing, and then just took little nick marks out of it to kind of give it that depth, and then same celadon glaze. And here's one of my experiment pieces with a white glaze and the slip, the Woodby Island slip. It has the same thing. I made it. It's a little sake bottle container, and then put the slip on, and then actually on this one I did a little bit different. I went and I bisque fired this one first. Is that? Oh no, I didn't. No, hold on. When it was leather hard, I put wax, and I put wax in little dots around it, and then I brushed it with the Woodby Island slip, and of course it didn't stick there where the wax was. So then after bisque, I dipped it in a white glaze, and there you go. And the white glaze lets some of the tan colors come through a little bit better, which is nice. And I would, just do different things with it. So, yeah, there's my attempt at slip. It's the only time I've ever done it. I literally, let me check and see if I'm in the frame here. There we go. Let me put it up a little bit. Okay. I literally didn't know what I was doing. A friend of mine who digs, it was a friend of a friend. So my friend asked me, he said, hey, one of my friends, he digs foundations for houses. He came across a bunch of clay, and would I like some of it? And so I said, sure. So he brought it over, and then we went through the process like I had showed you. And I would encourage anybody to give it a try. Anything that, I don't think I would just dig up dirt from anywhere. It really should have a high clay content. And you can tell clay by by the way it acts. Like, so this is clay dried up, and it'll act just like the clay you have it, out of your bag when it dries up. It's a little coarse because it's got sand and different dirt and little rocks in it and stuff, so it's a little bit different than than the feel of the clay of the bag, but you'll be able to tell that it's clay. Grab a load of that stuff, dry it all out, re-wet it into a slurry like this. Take your slurry and run it through a couple of sieves until you're confident that you've got all of the sand and all of the other things out of it. And then just give a test. Do a test tile. I found that this stuff works best if it's put onto leather hard clay, and I don't try to put this onto a piece of bisque pottery because it tends to flake off if I put it onto a bisque pottery. So, and I did a couple of tests until I found that out. Well, I didn't even get through it, right, because I noticed it wasn't going to work. But putting it on leather hard clay, and then anyway. So anyway, there you go. Give it a try, dig some dirt, make some glaze, and see what happens. That's all you can have. Like I said, I didn't know what I was doing when I first did it. I just, went through the motions. So give it a try.